guys, it's Bro You Whack, and there has been so much rumors, leaks, and speculations involving Overwatch 2, and in fact, I even made a video talking about those specific things, and that's not what this video is supposed to do. Today, what I want to talk about was what I specifically wanted from Overwatch 2, because I matter, god dang it! Now, are any of these things that I want from Overwatch 2 actually going to happen? Not necessarily, but you also have to imagine, nobody really knows what Overwatch 2 is, and in fact, Overwatch 2 might not even be a real thing. It's just the fact that so many people are talking about it, including myself, that's sort of becoming a thing. For all we know, at Blizzard, they're probably thinking, Overwatch 2, what are you talking about? It's like that old situation after you hook up with a girl and then she comes up to you the next day and she's like, what is we? And you're just like, what do you mean, what is we? If only I had that situation. The point that I'm trying to make here is that anything that I say in this video isn't necessarily going to happen, and in fact, it might not even be good for Overwatch 2 or the brand of Overwatch as a whole. I just really wanted to create a wish list because, as you guys know, Blizzcon is coming up, and in fact, there was even a panel where it said it was going to talk about news about Overwatch. Now, what that is, again, we don't really know. I just don't want to say, oh, that's Overwatch 2, and then people hate me because, well, they already hate me for many other different reasons. But I just really want to create things to just get the ideas out there, to possibly get some more ideas to bounce around in, and then maybe if Blizzard doesn't hate me, they might look at this video and be like, hey, you know, that's some good ideas for Overwatch 2, which might be real, might not. Now, the first thing that I want from Overwatch 2 is an idea that most people really want, and that is a story mode, a campaign mode, something that we can learn more about the lore of these heroes, because while the cinematics are great, and I absolutely love them, you can tell that Blizzard puts in a lot of work with the Mei cinematic, Reinhardt cinematic, not only with the story writing, but also the animation itself, but it's very hard to pump out those videos, especially from the fact that they don't make anything from those videos. So why would Blizzard spend thousands and thousands of dollars to create animations where they don't make any money, but we still enjoy it, when they can do that exact same thing, but in the form of a video game, where they sell a separate game for $40 to everybody that wants to buy it, and they're able to do that exact same thing with animations, tell a story and go more in depth and behind the scenes of a hero, and make money. It just kind of makes sense at that point. We've been wanting more lore, we've been wanting a campaign, so why wouldn't Blizzard want to capitalize on this? It's a win-win situation. Now, a few reasons as to why Blizzard might be a little bit hesitant making a separate game focusing on the Overwatch story is that, one, it's still gonna take millions upon millions of dollars to develop. They can't just write a storyboard, animate this game, and also make it fun in just like 5 minutes with $50 as their budget. No, it's gonna take a whole entire team and a lot of time. And what if it were to flop? I'm not saying it's going to, because there's tons of people that are really interested in learning the story of Overwatch, but is it really worth it? Is it really cost effective? And that leads me into the second reason as to why Blizzard might not be hopping onto the campaign train, and that is because of the time period that we're in. And shoot, even the time period when Overwatch was first being developed, because you gotta imagine, as time progresses, more and more people are just caring about the multiplayer experience, because that's how they're able to connect with their friends. And when I say this, I'm not saying that if you're a younger kid that you can't enjoy a good story mode in a multiplayer focused game, because no, there are still tons of games that have great campaigns, but you gotta imagine, kids aren't necessarily going to friends' house to play games with their other friends. You might, but not a majority of people, because now they can just hang out with their friends in Overwatch lobbies, in Call of Duty lobbies, in Fortnite lobbies. So why would they focus more on the single player experience if people won't really care about that? That's why Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, but instead a battle royale mode, because that's just what people cared about, I guess, at the time. Now, the Overwatch community is completely different, and at least in my opinion, I would love a good story mode where we're going on different missions with certain types of heroes. I don't know how that would really work out, because I'm just so used to the Halo 3 style where you're just one single person, and here, at least in Overwatch's case, we're limited to, well, the guns of Soldier 76 and Tracer. But I think it would be cool if they were to have good cinematic cutscenes and being able to go into depth of Tracer's backstory and being able to find out more about all these other heroes that we've grown to love. That's the reason why we're wanting lore. It's not necessarily to go on certain missions, because again, they might not be the most fun thing, but it's really just to find out more information about heroes that we've grown to love. So the too long didn't read version is that I would love to have a campaign where it's more focused on the story, not necessarily combat, because at the end of the day, that's what we really care about. Do you really want to go on missions with all these heroes? I don't think it would be that fun. But what would be fun is to see basically a movie where we're controlling the heroes. But that's in the perfect world, because ideally Overwatch 2 isn't going to take away from the Overwatch 1 experience. And at least if you were to have Overwatch 2 to be the story mode of Overwatch, it has nothing to do with the multiplayer experience. So you can have the story and you can have multiplayer and you can enjoy both. Whereas if you were to make a sequel to Overwatch be similar or exactly like the multiplayer experience already seen in Overwatch 1, then not only do you separate the Overwatch community in two different games, but you also don't fix, or quote unquote fix, Overwatch 1. Now that's subjective. You might think that's perfect, you might think it's totally broken, but either way, Blizzard wouldn't be focused on updating Overwatch 1, where there's still going to be a large portion of players. They're going to be more focused on Overwatch 2. And then here comes the question, well, would they bring over old heroes? Would your skins transfer? What about the old maps? And it's just like, if you're gonna update Overwatch with a new Overwatch game, well, why not just update Overwatch 1? So even though I wouldn't want a sequel where it has the same multiplayer experience, I do want to stick to that theme of enhancing Overwatch 1, or just try to make it better, because if you're gonna make an Overwatch 2, it shouldn't take away from the original Overwatch game. So the other thing that I want from Overwatch 2, if it's not a story mode, which both of these ideas could be included, which I think is doable, but the second idea that I had is to have a complete overhaul of Overwatch. The best way that I can describe it is how I described it in my last Overwatch 2 video, but it's how the Taken King was for Destiny, where it added a bunch of new games, it added a bunch of new raids, it added a bunch of new shaders, but at least in the Overwatch universe, you can't really add raids and stuff like that because, well, it's a multiplayer experience. But what I'm saying in this case, in the Overwatch 2, where it's not a true sequel, but just like an addition to Overwatch, is bring in a bunch of new heroes. I'm talking about 3 to 5 new heroes, bring in maybe 4 to 5 new maps, and have game modes replace the current Overwatch game modes, except for control map. Remember, this is my thing that I want. I want a complete overhaul of the game modes, because right now in the competitive playlist, they are the same game modes since season 1. Of course, Overwatch seems like the same game because there are no game modes to replace the main focus of Overwatch, which is the competitive playlist. Yes, I appreciate the 1v1s and 3v3 playlist and everything in the arcade, and maybe I'm selfish for wanting more in the competitive playlist, but my god, how crazy and how chaotic would it be to have a completely different competitive experience based on the objectives? Would it work? I don't know. I really don't know, but that's why you would have the control maps, because I feel like that is the one thing that most people really like, that they don't want to get rid of. 2CP, get out of here. Hybrid, and then escort maps, I mean, Bastion mains like those, but the point is though, this overhaul would not only be a completely different Overwatch experience to where it feels like a second Overwatch game, but it also fixes the problem. Not necessarily fixes it, but just kind of replaces the broken parts with new parts that might be broken, maybe not. When people hear Overwatch 2, they just automatically assume a sequel or a totally different experience, because that's how movies work and that's how video games typically work. But when you look at Blizzard's history, they don't really make sequels. Now, yes, with StarCraft and Diablo they have, but when it comes to like World of Warcraft or Hearthstone, or even with Overwatch, they just kind of build on top of it because, well, why not? They got it right the first time, why do they have to make a sequel? So Overwatch 2 might just be the code word that everyone in the Overwatch community, I'm gonna be honest, just kind of made up, because that's all we really know. But for all we know, it might just be a whole entire pack that could be added onto Overwatch, which contains a bunch of free DLC. And I'm assuming it's gonna be free when it would be justified to be behind a paywall, because it takes a lot to bring that much stuff into the Overwatch world. But the Overwatch community is just so used to free heroes, free maps, free game modes. It's kind of amazing that people automatically forget that all the stuff that we get from Blizzard is free, but they're just so used to that if there was a broken hero behind this paywall in this pack, then I don't think people would really like it, because then Overwatch kind of becomes pay to win at that point. And the last idea that, I'm gonna be honest, might not work, but I think would be fun and would definitely make headlines all over the internet, and that is adding a battle royale mode in Overwatch. Now, why will it not work? Because it's a class-based shooter. When you look at games like Fortnite or Call of Duty, they have generic characters that can pick up any kind of gun, but the guns are the characters in Overwatch. Now, the battle royale mode would work out as terms of the map for the game, because there are tons of iconic Overwatch maps that would fit the battle royale genre perfectly. perfectly. But then you gotta imagine that we play Overwatch for the characters. And if you were just to have some generic character, which you would need to have because they need to pick up weapons throughout the game. And now you just have some generic jabroni picking up weapons that isn't Tracer, that isn't Soldier 76. But luckily for the BR genre, that's not what it thrives on. It thrives on people getting into the top 10 and winning the game. And that's kind of why I want to see Blizzard bring a battle royale with the Overwatch theme, is just to see how fun it would be. Now you might lose the soul of Overwatch, which is the characters, because you just have some generic guy now, but it might be fun. The point of the battle royale isn't supposed to play specific characters. It's supposed to get in the top 10 and get your butthole clenched when you're about to get the victory royale. Fortnite's dead. We don't say that anymore. People thought Blizzard was crazy for wanting to make an FPS game because they have never made that in their whole entire life, and guess what? They made Overwatch, the first FPS game from Blizzard, and it was iconic. It took the world by storm. So maybe an Overwatch battle royale is something that not only Overwatch needs, but also the battle royale genre and the video game genre as a whole needs. Or maybe not. Maybe they just need to stick with single player. But either way, guys, those are the things that I want from Overwatch 2. And again, please let me know what you want Overwatch 2 to be. Whether it's a true sequel where it's a totally different multiplayer experience, which again, I kind of warned you of the red flags. Or if you want it to be an add-on where it just continues to add on to the original Overwatch game, which I think is the safer bet here. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch videos to come, and bye.